Hello, I love you. I don't know if that was appropriate, but okay, I'm gonna go into this. So, this is my first video about C-PTSD, complex PTSD, and NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. NPD is in the DSM-5, Diagnostic Statistic Manual of Mental Disorders. It's a mouthful. And C-PTSD isn't in any of the books, but it's really important because um, C-PTSD and NPD, the dynamic between these two personality types, it's about power. It's relevant on the micro level, so in the family unit, um, but also on the macro level, so society, bureaucracy, yeah, and um, it explains a lot about. You can view it as the great overarching complement between good and evil, or complement or conflict, depends how you view it. Um, doesn't matter, but what it means is that um, good and bad, not in the sense, so my definitions that I'll be using for good and bad aren't positive and negative. It's that on one hand you have altruism, and on the other you have taking. So taking wrongfully from others, unjustly so. Um, and there is such a thing as good and bad on that basis. So if you imagine a world where everyone was good, which people do, I've done, um, but the thing with that is, how can you consider something to be bad if you don't, or good if you don't have something? So if there's just good, then there's no bad, and that's just not how things work. So um, yeah, I totally mucked up that explanation, but hopefully you got it. Um, so yeah, so I've spent a lot of time wondering, why people act the way they do. So people who are mean to others, aren't nice, um, and what it must be like to be in their shoes. But I think it's pretty plain to see, um, with some thought, that neither party is happy. Um, they're both equally miserable. So enablers, the people with C-PTSD, they're called enablers because they enable the bad behavior of narcissists. Um, but the narcissist is equally miserable because neither party is free from fear. Um, they aren't free from want. With the enabler, they fear judgment, they fear um, punishment, and they want love. They're in desperate need of that positive connection. Um, and with the narcissist, they fear that the world is falling down on them. Um, they and for that reason they get anxious, they get angry, and these two types, they have different coping mechanisms that I won't talk about in this video because that'll be another long video. But um, um, yeah, so on one hand, you have someone who believes that they themselves are bad. The enabler believes that they are bad people due to the narcissist telling them so. Um, and they believe that other people are good. So there's a difference in worldview and the beliefs of each party. The narcissist, on the other hand, believes that they themselves are good and that others are bad. And both parties beat this mantra into themselves. So the enabler, who is oftentimes, or INFPs are more likely to be of this type simply because they are the result of the uh, the presence of a narcissist. So if you just look at the family unit, a tiny society, the presence of a narcissist will, especially if they're the caregiver, will sort of necessitate the emergence of someone with complex PTSD. Yeah, if that made sense, I tried to explain it good. Um, the yeah, so the enabler can't deal with the fact that other people aren't always good. So, and they can't come to grips with the fact that they themselves are quite good natured, that they aren't bad, as the narcissist says. The narcissist, constantly beats into the enabler that they are useless, worthless, they are bad, and that they're doing something wrong. So the struggle that the enabler has is they're constantly trying to appease to other people. They're people pleasers. Always, you can see that they're constantly catering to the needs of others. So to the bystander who doesn't have C-PTSD or NPD, they might be puzzled by how dependent the enabler is on the approval of others. So here a similarity bias is operating. So because we are all by nature alone and our experiences are subjective, we can only understand others through our own experience. And so the enabler believes that other people are good-natured, um, good-natured like themselves. So it's a weird conflict, because now that I think about it, how can they believe that they're bad and good at the same time? And I think that's the struggle. That confusion is what leads to depression in INFPs and enablers. So the conflict between what they're being told that they're bad and what they instinctively know. They must know on some level that they are good, but it's just conflicting very severely with what they're being told. So brainwashing, it is brainwashing, and it requires deprogramming for the enabler to come out of C-PTSD. So they believe that just because they treat others well, that others will treat them well as well, which conceptually is difficult for them to grasp because they don't work like that. So they can't fathom that some people take more than they give. So it makes sense to the enabler that if you give to others, others will give back, and that's why they keep doing it. And keep attracting people who take because they're so used to giving. The narcissist, just based on this framework that I've set up, believes that they themselves are good, and that's right, what they're told. So that could be from an early age or in childhood. They were told that at some point. Um, yeah, and they believe that others are bad. And what they struggle with is understanding that, or believing that they themselves are not as good as good natured as they were led to believe. So that's where the denial comes from. They are unable to accept that they they are not as altruistic as other people make them out to be, and that other people, um, and that people can give first. That there are people in this world that give before taking, or give more than they take, and that's what's hard for the narcissist to come to grips with. And I think I finished that idea up. Yeah. If you like the video and subscribe. And yeah, I'm gonna make another video soon. Bye.